So thank you so much for coming, everyone. We're going to officially start. I'm Jeremy Willinger. I'm the Chief Communications Officer at CP Unlimited. And I just wanted to show that this is a really monumental day for CP Unlimited, Metro Community Health Center, and really the wider network of people working here, supporting people with intellectual and or developmental disabilities. Today we're going to recognize two lions who have had a huge impact on the IDD field, Duane Schielke and John Horvath. You're going to get to hear from several of their colleagues and friends on their experiences and achievements together. And we're going to dedicate unique spaces for each individual that reflect their commitment to our mission. We also welcome Duane's daughter, Jennifer Schomaker, here today. So before we kick off the program, I'd like to tell you a little bit about us and how the event will go. Right now, we're gathered in the Metro Community Health Center space, which is connected to CP Unlimited's West Farms Day Hat program. Right now, you're on the bottom floor, where we engage directly with community members and people we support. Here's where you're going to find a wealth of health services. You can get your COVID vaccine, and you can be provided additional options for further care. Upstairs, there's a buzzing hive of arts and music and activities and rehab services and more, and it's crowned with a beautiful outdoor space. So first we're going to talk a little bit about constructive partnerships. Then we're going to talk a little bit about Duane. Then finally we're going to go up to the roof and we're going to talk a little bit about John Horvath. Lunch will be served, it's going to be right over there, and we hope everyone will join us. The lunch is also going to be served, I should mention, in a space which features photos from our Progressive Visions Photo Club called Anti-COVID. We encourage you to check those out. Those photos are from individuals, rather people we support, and it's a wonderful exhibit to see. So kicking off the program, CP as an organization, so we've been working in the New York City and Hudson Valley region since 1946. And our mission is really to identify opportunities for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to lead fulfilling lives. That's really at the core of all we do, and it was absolutely at the heart of what motivated Duane and John. I know in my short tenure so far, I've only been with the organization since February, how much Duane was valued and how much he is missed. We have some slideshows here that we printed, which really attest to that. I'm actually honored to work out of his office. And I hope to contribute to his legacy as best I can. So speaking of talented and dedicated people, I'd like to welcome Rita Bilello, who's the CEO of Metro Community Health Center, here now to introduce herself and say a few words.
Hi everybody, thank you so much for coming out to Metro, and thank you so much for sharing with us this honor in really dedicating this space to Duane, because truly, Duane is here every day. From every time I turn around and open a file cabinet, his signature is on more paper there than mine. And Duane is the heartbeat that really made this place come to be. Duane, when I first met him, I'm not going to lie, he scared the bejesus out of me. Because, as we all know and love Duane might have been a little rough around the edges. But Duane was a gem. And he was a gem in the sense that every good gem starts off really rough, and then when you dig a little and you polish, there's something truly spectacular and brilliant underneath. But Duane, in his appreciation of supporting people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, appreciated that their life could not truly reach their fullest potential if they didn't have the opportunity to be healthy. And to be able to provide health care to this population is a challenge. It's a challenge financially, it's a challenge from a provider resource perspective, it's a challenge from an access perspective, and to have the visions to create a space and then to incorporate it into the FQHC world to address some of the reimbursement challenges. He not only took that spark, but he moved heaven and earth to make it happen. And, Metro is forever indebted to him for the work that he did around that. And so there's no greater honor that we could think of, but to dedicate this space that truly he built really in his memory and as a testament to his legacy. So thank you for everything that you all did in helping Duane on that path, because you all in your individual ways contributed to this process, and you continue to carry his legacy forward. So that being said, Jeremy, Susan is next, correct?
No, sorry. We're going to welcome Jim Johanson.
Yes.
A little over 12 years ago, Duane had an idea, and that was to build a building to provide health care to people that are underserved, and especially people with disabilities. Duane went out, he recruited the board of directors. Most of the board of directors we have now started with Duane over a decade ago. It was Duane's idea that he built this building brick by brick. And it's true, he did. But you know what's more important than us? Was he built it form by form. He went through all of these forms that it never ended and tried to explain it to us in an over our head. He took over medical responsibilities of another health center heart share and made them part of the city. During the difficult years, Duane worked tirelessly to make this work for the people with disabilities to keep the agency alive. At the time it was passing, we were 5 agencies, and we were providing care for people, over 1,000 people a year. We'd like to think about legacy. Duane's legacy spent over half a century working on behalf of people with disabilities. This building is a small tribute to that. To me, the most important legacy is the people who may not even know whose lives that deserves all the recognition we need. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Arthur Webb to the stage, please, to say a few words about it.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jeremy, I hate to tell you this. I worked really hard to give you a New York movie.
You are after my heart. Yes.
However, I saw Susan last night at an event, and she said, "Yeah, go ahead, talk as long as you want." And knowing as a former public official, that's probably not a great idea. But, so I went home and revised these, so these are late night additions. First of all, a dedication is something very permanent. It is very lasting, even as memories fade. Someone might ask 10 years from now, who was Duane? And I do hope the answer is he had courage. I'm sure Duane would not want a long, kind of moralistic speech. He would kind of give you those eyes and he would be done with it. But in any event, I thought a lot, I continue to think a lot about Duane. And really dug into my relationship with him, which I've known him since the early 1980s, as Susan, you know. I met Duane in Buffalo when he was the executive director of the Western Association and turned into Aspire today. He was very recognizable. When I first met him, when I became commissioner, I toured the state. Here's this guy with a ponytail, clogs, and these designer glasses, these bow-tie designer glasses. And he gave me this look. Here I was, a new commissioner, big deal, you know. And I'm visiting, I want to know what's going on. And he gave me this look, like, I don't care who you are, really. What are you going to do for the disabled? And that was his genuine self. He turned into be quite a natty dresser, but yeah, amazing, you know, good threads. I'm not sure why he did that. Maybe I have to ask his family about that. But you know, it's interesting. I leaned to my assistant, Susan Morse, some of you remember, at the time when we were touring, I said, you know, here's a guy who dares come to meet the commissioner, ponytail, clogs. You could always know where he was, by the way. You could hear him coming. And I leaned to Susan and said, you know, this is the guy that we need to get to know. Because he's willing to do things that no one else would be willing to do. And sometimes even skirt a little bit of that which was permissible. That's okay. I kept a little black book. Some keep them, some get in trouble with them. And it was in 3 parts. First part was, Susan would appreciate this because she puts on, I don't know, 50,000 miles a year, whatever. What were the little restaurants that were in crossroads across the state. The Auburn Diner in Colorado, the Four Corners in Chautauqua, up in Tug Hill. So I had all these wonderful places that we purposely would divert our trip to sit and enjoy, in fact, the Great America. The second part of the book were places that were very important for emergencies. If you're driving up north in Watertown or Messina or Canton in the wintertime, you don't know what you're going to confront. So I learned and put in my little black book things that were important. Things where, in fact, Route 17 got flooded suddenly and you couldn't travel anymore. The third part of the book were little notes about people that I kept. Thank God that book disappeared. Given today's kind of notoriety, I think I would be in real trouble. So as I started to dig into my thinking about Duane, which I said I do a lot, the word that comes to my mind, honestly, is courage. And you may not appreciate that. Maybe it's not a great word these days, even though the folks in Ukraine are really kind of demonstrating a courage beyond belief. But he had this courage of conviction, this courage of confidence, and a courage of commitment that was on display all the time. It was really unbelievable. In many ways, courage is instinctual, and for those who might have been in the military, I'm sure he learned that in Vietnam. And the other one is intellectual, where indeed he learned from lessons learned, and he was a great student of the world around him. So those lessons learned became really important. But really, his actions spoke louder than words. A center like this, congratulations to the board, Susan and Metro for doing something like this. This is really quite amazing. I want to end with a quote that just has stuck with me a long time. Wrote it and underlined it, and I'm going to give it to you today. It's from Maya Angelou. Without courage, we cannot practice any other virtue with consistency. We can't be kind. We can't be true. We can't be merciful. We can't be generous. And we can't be honest. Thanks, Duane.
I would gladly budget 2 extra minutes. Just so wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to now welcome Darby Walsh, please, to say a few words about it.
I did not speak with Susan last night, so on Jeremy's behalf, I'm going to read to keep myself focused. Good morning, all. Let me begin by saying I'm honored to have the opportunity to share some memories of Duane with you. I met Duane just a few years ago, and I know many of you have had relationships with Duane for many more years. I must say, like Rita, I think, when I was initially introduced to Duane, I was a bit intimidated. The person that was introducing me shared with me that Duane was extremely knowledgeable in the area of electronic medical records and related systems, and that I would be working with him to facilitate implementation of those systems in the Hudson Valley Division. That was not a particular area of strength for me, and within about 15 minutes of our introduction, Duane was sharing with me information about things I had no knowledge of. But he wasn't particularly looking for feedback from me about that, more just letting me know what needed to be done. Anyway, I quickly learned that not only was Duane very knowledgeable in this area, but that he was also very straightforward and upfront about how he felt things needed to be done. Also, who he thought could be helpful with that, and clearly who he felt could not be helpful. I appreciated the straightforward, no-nonsense approach that he took to getting things done, and soon we were able to communicate with each other in a very open, honest, and upfront manner. That worked for both of us as we moved forward, working together on different projects. As time went on, I learned more and more about Duane's tireless advocacy for people with disabilities. I also learned more and more about the many ways in which Duane would push himself, his staff, and anyone else he needed to in order to get things done to help people with disabilities live a better life. I appreciated Duane's passion for the work he did, his directness in his communications, and his desire to make the world a better place. This allowed for many more meaningful conversations through which I learned more and more about how to get things done. Duane's way, that is. I am grateful for having had the opportunity to meet and work with Duane in recent years. The passion and energy he brought to the table for any and all discussions, I will always remember and carry with me. You will be greatly missed, Duane. Rest in peace.
Thank you, Darby. And now I'd like to welcome Susan Constantino, who will say a few words.
It's not a lot of advantages to being a boss yelling as they go there and tell you how much time you can speak. I love that part. So I will tell you that the one thing that I never thought I would be doing is standing here and dedicating a building to Duane. That was probably not anything I ever thought of ever in my life, because Duane was never supposed to die. You're not supposed to have a building named after you, I guess, until you die. So when I think now of this, and I think of being here, I think, why was it so important to choose a place that was the right place for this? What would be the thing that we would remember most? Duane was really like a renaissance. He knew a lot about a lot of stuff. He ran the residential programs, he ran the whole agency in Buffalo. And just so if you don't know, Duane worked his whole life for cerebral palsy. I mean, he started when he was in college. He lived in one of the first hospitals that they called it a hospital or a group home. His whole life was spent at cerebral palsy. So it really seemed very important to me that there be a piece of him left here when all of us may not work for cerebral palsy, but people need to know who Duane was, and that's definitely important. But this building and this place for a very special reason. Firstly, the clinic was really important to Duane, clinical services, having a clinic. There is nothing in the whole world that loses more money for agencies than a clinic. It's like if there would be any program you wish you could get rid of, except it's so important, it would be a clinic. So he really thought, well, what were we going to do? How did we get to save it? And that's where the MCHC came in. Many folks had thought we would never work for our agencies, but in fact, Duane found a way to get it figured out. He also, what he did when we were looking at how to do this and how to make it more successful, he found two really good partners. And one of them was in Marco Damiani, who had formerly been at IAI running their clinic for years. Camp Hartshire was in the temple, but was involved with it at that point. It's like, what would be good? Let's bring more people into it, more agencies into it, so that it can really do this. And his work with folks was just, there were days when he would drive me crazy, but I think he didn't drive everybody else crazy, because he really worked it, got it done, and as Jim said, form by form, whatever. But for those of you who may know us from before, in the South Bronx, we were located at a place called the Jerome Nelson Center. It was perhaps the ugliest building you would ever see in the whole world. It was like one floor. Tell us, great? Is that, am I great? We all know that. And the clinic had some space. I'm not even sure how people got in or got out. Now remember though, I worked for Duane before, and he's the only person I know who put a dental clinic in a bathroom. We had it in a bathroom in New York, or in Buffalo. So anyway, this was an awful spot. So coming and finding and getting a place that looked like this, that was going to be a place where people with disabilities could come and the community and feel like they had a spot to be with a facility that matched what it should be for all of us when we go through healthcare. And he did build it brick by brick. I will tell you that he was here every step of the way. He was here making sure that nobody had installed. He was here making sure that this building this clinic in particular was a building where people could come. And when Jim talked about his work, we had one partner that we worked with for 3 years to get this thing going, and it didn't work. We found the next partner so we could do this. And Duane was relentless when it came to that. And this building, to me, it always says that this building says, we care, we're here, this is where people belong. Duane knew a lot about everything. When after the clinic was built, he came to me and he said, I really want to be the director of the clinic. I really, really want to be the CEO. And I thought for a long time, because again, there's nobody who would have deserved it more than Duane. But I thought to myself, that would be a real loss to all the other things that need to be done, because as Rita, Marco, and anyone can attest to from the clinic, it takes all you got and then some. And you don't have time to do the kinds of things that Duane really liked to do, the thinking things, the ACO, the accountable care organization, the how do we do this, the medical records, the healthy C interface. He would not have been able to do that. So when I told him I didn't think he should, I knew he was really disappointed. I thought, this is it. This man I've known since I've been, I don't know, 30 years old, so it's a long time. And I thought, he's never going to talk to me again. And I'm happy to say that many years later, a few years later, he came back and he said, I just want to thank you. I am doing so many interesting things. I am doing and creating so many different ideas, different things in different places. I mean, for those of us who love Station MD, I mean, he really helped to make that throughout the whole state. The things he did are so incredible. And so he said, you made the right decision. And it was like, yeah, we really did. Not for the clinic. It would have been great. But we made the right decision for you because you have so much more to offer, and you always did. And it's so very important to me. It's so really very important to me that Duane's name's not forgotten. And I walk into some buildings now, and they're named after some people who I wonder who they are. And it's like, I wonder who it is. If it's years now down the road, you can wonder. But somewhere there'll be the plaque that will tell you he was a remarkable man. He did remarkable things. He cared passionately for people with disabilities and making sure that what they have was right. And he should never be forgotten. This is a beautiful big building. And hopefully, I mean, named after him, and healthcare will continue, quality will be great, and we won't do this way. Thank you. I'm not letting Jeremy come up for a minute because not on the program, but would like to say one thing is Jeremy's daughter, Jennifer. So Jennifer, yeah, wait, look at me, Arthur, I'm like a real girl.
Oh God, he knew I was going to cry. One thing I will say, I have known about this place well before I even walked in, because Duane would text me and call me and say, I've been up in the Bronx. I'm working on this place. I stopped at Sylvia's and got food. He was all about food. But knowing how integral he was to this place, how much it meant to him, and how much he means to all of you, I'll never be able to tell you. And just on behalf of myself and his family, who's very upset that they can't be here, I just want to thank everyone so much. And I do have to say, this is very strange, but this is an urn necklace. I have some Duane's ashes with me, so he is here. So thank you.
You know, I think it's very apparent how much he meant as it's been shown. And now for the official reveal, I'd like to invite Rita and Susan back here, and to also just again thank Rita, to thank Jim, to thank Arthur, to thank Darby, to thank Susan, and of course to thank Jennifer for their lovely remarks. So if everyone would just count down with me, starting at 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah! And would you like to read
CPM Limited and Metro Community Health Center dedicate this community clinic space to the legacy of Mr. Duane R. Schielke, 1948 to 2021, in recognition of his compassionate work on behalf of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Duane devoted his entire professional life to encouraging individuals with disabilities to live to the most fulfilled and productive life possible, promoting good health care as an essential component of their success. His tireless efforts, essential component of their his tireless efforts and advocacy serve as an inspiration for all of those to follow. This clinic was dedicated on June 9, 2022.